other than you, have the Norse had any influence on
What?
kilts or tartan?
You specifically.
Yeah, you.
Me?
Yeah, you.
You've had an extreme impact.
Am I a Viking to you? Do I make
Mr.
you want to
Norseman?
raid places?
Speak on behalf of all Nordic people.
Okay. All right. I can do that. I actually had notes I wrote down for this, and I left them in the other room. So, fair disclosure. But here's the thing. Yeah, it's not just about me. Not
Not at all about you.
No, not at all. I mean, and are you talking about a historic influence, or are you talking about a modern influence? Because the modern influence is obvious. You have people who are of mixed ancestry, as we've said many times, and they want to enjoy celebrating their Nordic side as well. You have a certain popularity right now for the aesthetics and the warrior culture vibe of the Norsemen. So accessories like, Thor's hammer and, Viking dragons and stuff like that are popular just because right now people think they're cool. So, fine. And we did the Nordic Heritage Tartan because of that whole, I want to show that I am Scottish. Hey, look at that. Hey,
Johnny on the spot.
I'm Scottish, but I'm also very proud of my Nordic ancestry. Historically, there were a number of clans who actually go back to well-documented Viking roots. Like MacDonald is one,
Gun.
MacLeod is one,
MacDougall, I
Gun,
think, was one.
MacIver, which goes back to
Ivor the Boneless? No.
son of Ingvar,
Okay.
basically. And there's another one, Maxine.
Okay.
Maxine, it goes back to Sven.
Okay.
Sheen was originally from Sven, Nordic name. And the Vikings, Norse people, ruled a significant part of Scotland and the outer islands and Ireland for 300 years. There's a supposition that basically one of the reasons that the Pictish language died out was because Nordic settlers kind of pushed it into extinction because they weren't interacting with anybody else. They needed to speak the language of the people they were trading with. This is before the Scots really made their influence. I mean, I did have a map image, which is not entirely perfect, but if you imagine, on this map they basically show the Scots or Scoti and Norse mixed in those areas, and the Gaels. It was a bit more Norse than it was Scots for a long time, honestly. This is showing genetic diversity versus politics. I didn't find a convenient image for showing politics over a period of 300 years. So yeah, that's why there is that. Scotland has always been a bit of a melting pot, at least going back to the Dark Ages. So yeah. Did the Vikings influence the kilt? We do get supposition. We get speculations about this because the word kilt is derived from the Old Norse kielti, which basically means to wrap around, to pleat. But there is no evidence that the Vikings were wearing kilts. It just means that that word had made its way into the language of hegemony in the country, and people started using that word to describe it when they were wrapping stuff around themselves.
Guys, breaking into the center of this video real quick for a reminder. If you don't mind, please subscribe to the channel and give us a thumbs up. It helps trick the algorithm, and you get notified when we have cool new content.
There is one Viking king, Magnus the Third, who his by name, one of his by names was Magnus the Barefoot, because
barefoot or bare-legged?
They're bare-legged. Okay. Yeah. And there's three different theories as to why he got that name, but the most prominent one is that because he started dressing in the manner of the
people
of the Gaels. So he was wearing he was not wearing pants. Okay, he was wearing a long tunic but no pants the way the locals did. He just liked it for whatever reason. He adopted that. Mind you, we're talking about tunics. We're not talking about kilts. We're just talking about not wearing, leggings or trews.
So here's the question. And now, recognizing that the Norse art and Celtic knotwork and Gaelic art and and even Pictish to some degree, feels to me very similar. Did one influence the other? Did one come
Absolutely.
first?
I always get this a little mixed up, but basically Celtic knotwork, if you look at the continent, goes way back. So I believe for the most part, the thinking is that Celtic Germanic art was from a similar root and evolved differently in Scandinavia than it did once it got to the British Isles. And they did influence each other back and forth once, later on. I'm talking like hundreds of years later when the Vikings came. But I forget what the exact thinking is, because there's like 3 or 4 different specific styles of Celtic or Viking knotwork and runestone design. And some of them are older, some of them are newer, some of them are more Eastern. But I always get that stuff confused because it's a lot. And I have a very small brain.
Yeah.
But but they influence other things like the boats that were used in the islands around the Hebrides and the Orkneys and Isle of Man. They're all based on Viking ships. They're just scaled down. But for hundreds of years through the medieval period, the common boats used to go back and forth between Ireland and Scotland were basically Viking ships, just built a little smaller.
Yeah. There's a lot of blending of cultures and like evolution of things over time. So it's not a clear, cut, dry, this is how the thing, this is the starting point and this is what happened. It's very much a just kind of, meshing of things.
In terms of tartan, there is no direct evidence that the Vikings wore tartan or that they influenced tartan as an art form. That is pretty much all a Celtic Gaelic thing. I guess there's some speculation that the Vikings introduced different dyes. I'm not sure about that one either, though.
Yeah, through trade routes, maybe.
Definitely, but if it was anything, it would have been a trade thing.
Yeah,
that's basically what it was about. It was beyond the military stuff. It was about trade goods, and that with the continent because of it.
Cool.
But yeah, so there is an influence for sure.
Yeah.